Welcome to EDC Journeys. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Enjoy. What's going on, EDC people, and what's our journey today? We are going to review the Elite Tactical ball bearing folder. I believe that is the full name of it. It is, sorry about that blinding you, ET-1028BK, I assume meaning black. It has its own version of the axis lock. It's thumb stud deployment. It's very smooth. It's 8cr13, and it's got a recurve. We're going to discuss it. We're going to dull it, and ultimately we're going to sharpen it. So first of all, let me lower you down. If you're not familiar with a recurved blade, let me show you some easy examples of why they have some benefit. The recurve in the blade, really it feeds itself. Like as I cut through this cardboard, with ease by the way, you can see that recurve, it continuously eats into the cardboard. I don't know if that's making any sense, but watch. Of course, I'm trying to... You see how it pretty much stays at that hump? And it doesn't have to. I can use the belly if I want to, or the tip, just fine. But recurves have huge purpose, and people fear them mostly because of sharpening, and that's why we're gonna do that at the end after we cut some things up, dull it up, review it. We'll sharpen it. As you go through the cardboard, that recurve right there, you can see right where the lines are on it. Actually, it pulls the cardboard into that curve, that recurve, and that's where it cuts it the best. Trying to demonstrate the best I can here, but it's a little awkward. Gunk and tape. Oh, one right in the box. You can see that once I get in, once I puncture in, and all I gotta do is pull down, and that curve just stays right in there. So if you know how to, if cardboard or cutting anything, continuously is something that you do often, there's a reason for a recurve, and it might be for you. Another great part of the recurve is push cuts. So if let me see if I can, yeah, you can see that. If I use that belly to get in there, and that's that thick sideways, I mean, I cut right through that, no problem, like it was butter. Pushing it straight down, using the belly and that recurve to my benefit. As you can see, when I fall off of the recurve and I come back to the straight part, how I actually can get caught up in the cardboard. But when I pull back to that curve, where that belly is, it really cuts right through. See, that's where, right down deep, right by the thumb studs, is actually where it's having its most trouble. If I back out, butter. That's the flat. That's the recurve. They're both fairly easy as it's sharp. Cardboard dulls knives very quickly though, if you didn't know that. There's some kind of like sediment in it or something. I'm not a clay or I can't remember. Somebody told me once, but if you work retail or anything like that and you open a lot of boxes, if you have to break down a lot of boxes for any reason, you, I'm sure, are aware of how fast you go through your box cutter blades or knives if you carry knives or are allowed to carry knives at your job. So this is just an example of me using the recurve to cut. I'm going to actually dull the blade before I sharpen it, dull it more. And then I'll show you how I handle a recurve as a beginner, okay? And it will be back to at least this sharp again. Hopefully sharper. But the person who sent it to me, I believe, sharpened it on a KME. So he may have had some advanced technique or advanced equipment over my freehand sharpening of a recurve, but that's okay. We're gonna do it. We're gonna make it happen. And I'm gonna show you why, despite the fact that recurves are feared for their sharpening, why they are still manufactured and still have a huge place, and what the benefit of it is. If that doesn't explain it enough right there, I'll tell you about it more in just a minute. And understand also that the Elite Tactical is a budget knife. I want to say it's around $30. I'm going to double check on that when I get inside it before I actually do the review portion. But I just wanted to show you a little more over the recyclable of how just easy it is. And I'm not putting much effort. I used to work retail for a living. I cut a lot of boxes, and I can tell you that, well, had the company, by the time I left there, it was a big corporation, so they wouldn't allow you to carry a knife like this. But regardless, at the beginning, I would have loved this knife over the stupid box cutters that I had, because I could have just sharpened this up in a breeze as 8cr, and look at it go through the cardboard. And it's not just me going with it. I could go against the grain if that's what your concern is. No problem. It's almost fun because, again, that recurve, it wants to eat more of whatever you're cutting. It doesn't let me go down to beyond that belly. That belly protrudes, so it just continuously eats right there. But that is a good thing to know and remember when you're sharpening too, because you're going to have to pay special attention to that. Let's get rid of all the little pieces I've already had fun with. And if you, how else can I explain how easy this is? By now, a razor blade will already be marked up, and I just hit the plastic, so that's great. Going diagonally, it would already be marked up. This edge is still sharp, and I've been cutting up this box into tiny little pieces, and it was a big box, and it was bigger. Bigger than it was before I even started showing. I've already broke it down to the size it was to bring it out. So that's against the grain. This is with the grain, as people say. I mean, this is more the cardboard bunching up than me having, there we go.
Last piece of hairpin is, we'll build this up, or I'll build it, it's not build by the time we're done with this, but we've got enough that's that corner double wrap too, so don't think it's already done. See how this is happening? It's not done yet. Let me get this wall straight out. No problem. And you still have however long blade, you know, 4 inches or whatever, 3.5 inches of blade. So I'm focusing on really one area to show you the recurve. And you still have more, yeah, whole rest of that belly to go from there.
Even with the sticker on, it cuts right through. Now you can see that's right where the recurve is, right where it feeds itself. That's where it loves to cut, and that's a perfect mark just to show you. And it's a perfect segue out of cutting this box of cardboard. See it? Okay, guys, I'm trying to set up a makeshift tripod because I already brought it in. But I wanted to try batoning a little bit with this full, Elite Tactical ET-1028. We'll just do like an edge, nothing big.
I have a very weird angle now with this phone here. I have a folding chair with 2 rocks holding up the phone, so it only goes so far here. Usually you would use a fixed blade baton, I would hope, but I like to test the strength and durability and resilience. Nice. Showing the end of the set. So more or less I'm just dulling it purposely right now, but at the same time kind of showing you that it is possible.
I wanted to. I keep going. You can see, I hope, that there's all kinds of cuts through here now. Okay. Obviously doing, look at this. That's how hard I'm beating it. So, this is hard wood too.
This isn't any lightweight stump, it's all there. But if you need kindling to start, I mean that's just a terrible example because I just grabbed crap off the ground, but
You know, there's your start, and then you just keep batoning and working away if that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. I got more stuff stuck on the top of it from hitting it than I did on the blade. The blade held up pretty good, actually. I don't see any deformity, really. Let's do one more test. Technical there. I'm not supposed to have nice things like a phone. I'm not allowed to have. There we go. One last thing. If I can make it through this one last thing, we'll be good. Alright, guys. Meanwhile, the top looks worse than the bottom right now. Where the hell is the focus on this thing? I don't know why it's not. There we go. So you can see, let me zoom in. Don't fall down. Don't fall down. I don't know. There we go. I could see it better. There we go. I am actually surprised. You can see that it's definitely wearing at it, but I mean, Jesus. So after the batoning, I cleaned off the blade pretty well. And it still deploys well, but on the retraction, you can hear, listen to this, if you can hear over the storm outside, listen to the rattling. So I'm wondering if I damaged one of the bearing balls or something, or the entire bearing. So, given the fact that it's making that noise, after we sharpen it later, I will probably disassemble it and see if I can find any problems, fix them if I can, at least clean it out and oil it. However, excuse me, I've already blown it out with canned air and tried a little bit of oil. Now I've actually rinsed it, blown it out with pressured water to see if there was any just crap debris stuck in there. It appears that that's not the case. It is now dried off thoroughly. Still makes the rattling noise. So at some point during that batoning, I think, and as far as blade play is concerned, I don't have my on my tripod, but there is no side to side, but there appears to be, well, maybe not. I can't really tell. I'll have to do it when I'm back in the tripod. But you guys can hear that rattle, right? That wasn't there before. We are going to sharpen the recurve. I've already started, but we're going to sharpen the elite curve. I mean, the elite curve. The recurved elite tactical that we put some damage on earlier. Now, I've already got it started because I don't want to do a whole long video, because there's really only one, piece of this that's difficult, really. And it's the fact that it's recurve, right? Well, is a round stone. Now, this is a broken piece of an Arkansas stone, but it's round, and that's what's important. And all you want to do is, because when you have a round, it's kind of like a sharpening steel. You know, when you get one point on there, that's all that you're sharpening. So it doesn't matter. The blade can go in 800 different directions. So long as you hold your angle, you're going to follow that recurve right along. You don't need to do really anything special besides hold the angle and pull along on that round sharpening stone. So that's what I'm doing. Now, I have a burr on this side, but what I'm trying to do is make sure that my grip pattern is uniform all the way across, because I really beat the heck out of this thing. Okay, let's see. So you hear the... So I definitely got a... I'm only missing right down here. Okay. Even better. It's a perfect spot. Perfect time for this to happen. Now, usually yours wouldn't be broken. I mean, it wouldn't be this small. You could use one of the rods from the Lansky system. Really, you could even use a stone, like a regular bench stone, and just use the edge of it. So long as you're getting on that bevel, your goal is to try to stay along that recurve, not flatten the belly. So just as usual, no pressure. Again, I put a little too much Dawn in the water, but that's okay. But you can see for sure that it's absolutely a moving steel. I'll try to show you here. I mean, that dark grit on the white stone is steel. You know, think of it as like it's your pinpoint sharpening, really. You're only getting one tiny little point on that blade at that particular moment. So let's zoom in a little. Now I just wiped it with a cloth and I beat the hell out of it. So this is the coarse. I mean, I'm just making burrs, so I'm really not expecting it to look pretty yet. But you can see how the straight, see that straightness right, that straight grit right there? That's what I'm trying to remove. You can see where I am hitting and then where I'm not. So see, it's nice to have good light. So even though I have a burr, I'm not going down far enough. I'm holding it too high, I believe. This is the ceramic one that I got from Smoky Mountain. That's like, it's a factory defect because the handle, it's not mounted in the handle well enough. The rod itself is ceramic, but it's super fine. So it's way too fine to be going onto this right now. I'm just trying to show you how if you actually have the full system or a full rod, how much easier it is because you have room to move. I'm also trying to make sure I don't erase the recurve and just flatten it, you know what I mean? So because I have a burr going all the way down and up on that side, I am going to switch sides. So you can clearly see it's still a recurved blade. I'm gonna shut the camera off and keep going for a while. Just kind of getting that grip pattern down where I want it, or up where I want it, however you want to look at it. I got a decent burr on the other side as well. I'm not saying that the grit is right, or the pattern, you know, the grip pattern on the bevel is perfect yet, but I'm removing the burr on the other side now. Again, I'm using the ceramic rod that's a little too fine, although it is removing steel pretty well. I don't know if you can see the... Maybe I will just give it a shot and see how it does. Alright guys, I have finished as much sharpening as I'm going to do on the Elite Tactical model number ET-1028 in its black, so it's BK. If you search for this model, you will find it on Amazon. I thought it was $30, I believe I said yesterday when I was beating the heck out of it. And I was wrong. It's $20, $19.99 on Amazon with free shipping. So at that price, it's a nice recurved blade with what they call a rapid lock in dual thumb studs with a nice recurve. So my goal in sharpening it was to not only show you that a recurve is possible to sharpen and fairly easy with your everyday tools, but to be back to sharp again. And also I wanted to beat the heck out of some 8cr13 to match with my beating the heck out of 3cr and 5cr. So You know, I didn't spend a ton of time on it. I could have done better, but you can see that my grip pattern is kind of going the right way, and I can tell you that it wants to bite. And we'll do a little cutting test after. But right here's the baton I used in the earlier video, or the earlier clip you probably just watched. So for some stats on it, the overall length is nearly 9 inches, which is why I have to hold it so far down to get it on the screen. At 8.95 inches, blade length 3.95, so you've got nearly 4 inches of blade. It's got, like I said, it's got the rapid lock. Now, ever since I beat the heck out of it yesterday, it makes a rattling noise when I close it. The pivot's not loose. There's still no blade play. But I did forget it was on bearings when I was batoning, so I may have squished up some bearing balls or something. We'll find out when we do a disassembly, which will be the following video. It's black G10 scales with steel liners. I'm trying to see if there's any relief. Yes, there is some. So it looks like they have. Oh, hang on one second. We will have to take a better look when I disassemble. I just noticed when I said hang on a second that I actually, while batoning, I definitely went overboard. For what this is, I broke part of the back spacer that was sitting there, and I just noticed it moving around freely, floating. So the back spacer is officially broken. When you see what I did to her, or when you saw what I did to it, depending on where it is in the video, realize that type of pounding is not what this is designed for, really. At $20, but when something says it's an elite knife, I like to check. And in addition to that, when something, when I'm testing a blade steel for the first time, I put it kind of through the same paces. I did it with 3cr, I did it with the 5cr, and now I've done it with 8cr, where I not only dull and sharpen, but I go to the extreme with batoning and hard reuse. The steel performed well, and it sharpened back well, and I'll show you shortly how sharp it is again. The locking mechanism / internals is where my concern is. Now, it's not a concern it worked fine up until I did serious pounding on it. So clearly, it's not meant to do that. And now you wouldn't use a folding knife for batoning under normal circumstances anyways. However, usually, unless you planned it out, a lot of times you don't plan on when you have to do it. In other words, emergency situations happen. Can you use this knife to baton? I did. Is it still safe? It works. Again, we'll know more when I disassemble. I was telling you the stats though. It's a 8cr13 satin edge. It has a cool grind where the it's going this way up here on the flat. It's got a cool little swedge up here, and then it has the regular, factory grind coming down. The flat, it is flat ground with a bevel. Now, my sharpening was not so great as far as an even bevel. You can see here I was probably the right size, and here I laid down, I probably went further back. And so therefore I kind of created a larger bevel right here on the big belly. But it's still sharp. That's all we care about right now. So at $20, I have to say I am still impressed. And it's mostly with the blade steel. The 8cr, the pounding I gave, it gave out inside what's the word? The hardware gave out before the steel gave out. So that's it. That's indeed something important to realize, because you hear about how terrible 8cr is all the time. Well, this is a $20 knife off Amazon, which as far as I know is fairly nameless. It's called Elite Tactical. Okay, I mean, it's one of those knives that you see. And I'm sorry if you work for the company and you take offense to that, but that's just the truth. You know, you go online and you see Elite Tactical Folding Knife with G10 and 8cr13. I mean, how many knives fit that description? Also, before we disassemble, I will mention it is tip up carry, deep stainless steel pocket clip, which is, ow, caught myself under the fingernail there. I was going to show you the spring. It's fairly springy, it's nice and long, it'll stay in the pocket. Doesn't have recessed screws, but there's a good amount of room. However, no lefty love. There's a tiny lanyard hole that goes through the back spacer that I broke. And okay, so as far as weight is concerned, 5.296 ounces. Now remember, we're talking about a nearly, what was it, 9-inch knife. So, you know, with a fairly large recurved blade. So, is it heavy? Yes, but they did what they could as far as weight relieving the interior. I think it's mostly blade heavy. Let me just make sure I'm on a stable part here. Look at that tear. Okay, so 5.3 ounces. It's just over 5 ounces, okay? I mean, regardless of whether the stupid scale. Yeah. Okay, oh, in grams. $150 grams. It should be fairly easy to remove the body screw from the broken back spacer. And we'll see what we find when we get inside. I think most of you know at this point how to remove screws. Apparently I don't. But I'll continue and get inside and start the video. Okay, so I still have the screws in. Well, looks like the barrel came with this side and it probably stayed on that side. Let me flip this way. So you can see it's got the kind of standard looking mega clip here, or at least that's what I'm familiar with. It does not, it definitely looks misformed. Yeah, it is. You see that? You see how it's coming off? It's not really supposed to do that. I definitely put way too much pounding on the actual thing. Let me go ahead and continue here and I'll restart the video in a moment. So it is semi-difficult to see, but I am totally disassembled. It's kind of a mess right now. I haven't seen any majorly deformed pieces. The only thing that I see is where the bearings hit the steel really hard. And I'm guessing that that's what that little like chain clinking sound is maybe you can actually see where the bearing balls got pushed into the steel. So I don't know, that could be it, but I've taken it apart, including the broken back spacer, cleaned everything. I'm gonna lube it up, put it back together, see what happens. I'll see you in a few. Yeah, so again, before I start putting this back together, there isn't much to see. The stop pin really doesn't have any deformations. I mean, you can definitely see where it rubbed, but it's not like terrible. The only thing that I see, and I don't know if it's supposed to look that way or not, is the pivot has the little D shape, which is great, but it has this indentation as well, which I'm assuming obviously was there. There's no way I did that, and I did it so perfectly. So I don't know. I'm assuming that if I put it back together and it still rattles, that it was the bearings. But even looking at the bearings, which I do have to say are definitely on the lower end of the scale, but at your no, remember we're talking $20 shipped. Oh no, that could be a problem. So there's no missing bearing balls or anything. They all seem there. Ooh, it looks like maybe some got flattened. I don't know if you can see that the way I do. Well, I'm going to put it back together, oil it up, and we'll see what happens. I'm just noticing, it's interesting, it looks like it has a detent wrap, or a ramp, not a wrap. Alright guys, that's it for the disassembly. It's back together. This was a learning experience for me, as I had not dealt with those barrels before, really. And it took me I had to take it apart twice to redo the body screws correctly. And to have the back spacer, even though it's broken, it needs to be in there, because if it's not, the liners are independent from that barrel. That barrel doesn't stop the liners. The spacer itself does. So without the liner in there, or without the spacer in there, the liners can still move closer together. That said, it's back together, it's centered, it deploys, it's safe, it locks. There's still just ever such a slight amount of back and forth blade play. I mean, it's very, very slight. It's an acceptable amount, really. The noise is still there. I even tried turning the bearings around a little bit. I put some extra oil on there. I tried flip-flopping which side they were on at one point. Yeah, so I'm not sure if there's just one, maybe one or two bearings got flattened, maybe even both sides on one side of the bearing capture, the plastic thing that captures the bearing balls. I don't know if, they got smashed up against the side, and so it just makes that clanky noise now when it's independent like this. When you roll it out or back, there's no clank. So it's just really when it's rolling on those bearings. So I have to believe it has something to do with that. That said, what are my overall thoughts? Don't baton with it unless you have to. As far as the 8cr goes, as far as this blade is concerned, this specific knife, they did a good job. This Elite Tactical company, for $19.99, 8cr, it cut very well. The recurve served its purpose very well. It resharpened very well. It would have been a normal, easy disassembly had it not been so difficult to try to figure out what was wrong with it, and had I not broken it in the toughness testing. Okay, so what kind of a rating does that leave me with? Well, that's a good question. I have to take into consideration the price, right? At $19.99, the blade portion of it surprised me. The hardware failed me. If it's going to be an Elite Tactical knife, I can't go above 1.5 shamrocks. I just can't. And the only reason why it gets that half is the price. Otherwise, I would drop it to 1, unfortunately, just because. And I'm not even really considering that a bad rating. A bad rating would be 0. 1.5 is halfway to a good, to 3 shamrocks. I do 1 through 3, and then 4. A 4-leaf clover is top, cream of the crop. Very rare to see. So as far as I'm concerned, 1.5 is an okay score, and almost generous considering the difficulty I had. But at $19.99, for 8cr, for an 8cr that handled the pounding I gave it, that definitely does deserve 1.5 shamrocks. So 1 and, I don't know how to do that on my fingers, 1.5. Alright guys, it's back to sharp. It's usable, it is safe, it does lock, it's not like it was, but it does work. Would I buy it? If you're in the budget range of 20 bucks, if you like recurve, if you want recurve, yeah, I mean, you get, for 20 bucks, you can, well, can you do better? I'm not sure, you know? I mean, you can get a D2 blade these days for around $20, but it's usually Chinese D2, and would it take the beating I gave it? I don't know. We'll find out when I get to a D2 blade, I suppose. Talk to you later, guys. I almost forgot to do a little quick final cut test. I already put the stupid, whatchamacallit, tripod away. So I'm just gonna try to do it on some fixed cardboard here to make it easy and hold the camera at the same time. I hope you can see how easily, if the box doesn't move, how easily I'm able to use that recurve again. And let me tell you, after the pounding I gave it, I hope you understand how dull it was. Okay, that's the best I can do with one hand. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please give me a thumbs up. For more content like this, consider subscribing and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything.